20 minutes on a sport bike and your wrists are screaming. Your back is locked, your neck is craned like you are hunting for spare change on the ground. 4 hours on a standard and you are still upright, still relaxed, still grinning. That gap is pure geometry. High close bars send your weight through the spine, not the wrists. A flat seat spreads the load evenly. No fairing means less weight up top and an engine you can actually reach. 20 machines that get this right. Number 20 is up first. Starting off. At number 20 is the Cleveland Cycle Works Ace 250. We are opening with the lightest bike on this entire list, and there is a very good reason it earns the spot. The Ace 250 was built from 2010 through 2022, and it looks like a 1960s board tracker that somehow escaped a museum. Seat height is 31 inches, and wet weight is a feathery 242 pounds. Used prices run from $1,200 to $2,500, which is basically the cost of a decent recliner, except this one happily cruises at 60 miles an hour. Here is the concrete benefit. At 242 pounds, you can catch this bike with one hand if it starts leaning the wrong way at a stoplight. No panic. No throwing your back out, trying to muscle a heavyweight upright off a curb. Anyone with limited grip strength or a cranky shoulder can still confidently wrangle this machine at parking lot speeds, which is exactly where most bikes actually get dropped in the first place, long before highway speed ever enters the equation. It is also a genuinely painless bike to own. Basic single-cylinder engine, basic carburetor, basic wiring. There is nothing hiding under the tank, waiting to ruin your weekend. And parts are cheap enough that fixing a problem never turns into a crisis. The honest limitation is that build quality is basic and there is no ABS or traction control. So this is a sunny backroads companion, not a technology showcase. There is also no real fuel gauge to speak of, just a low fuel light. So keep a mental note of your mileage. If that kind of effortless, drop it in your driveway simplicity is exactly what you are after, subscribe right now because we are about to climb into 19 more machines with real highway manners, and this list only gets more interesting from here. Rolling in at number 19 is the Kawasaki ER6N. Built from 2009 through 2016, the ER6N is one of those bikes nobody brings up at the coffee shop, which is exactly why it is still sitting there, cheap while everyone argues about cruisers instead. Seat height sits at 31.7 inches. Wet weight is 449 pounds. And used prices land between $2,500 and $4,200. The frame narrows dramatically right where the seat meets the tank. That means your inseam has a much shorter path to the pavement than the seat height number alone would suggest. Flat footing at a red light becomes far less of a stretch and far more of a formality, which matters more than any spec sheet ever will. Kawasaki also tuned the 649 cubic centimeters parallel twin for low and mid-range torque rather than a screaming top end, so around town you rarely need more than third gear. And that means fewer clutch pulls for your left hand over the course of a normal errand run. The honest limitation is that the parallel twin buzzes noticeably at highway speed, and that buzz can leave your hands tingling after an hour on the interstate. A set of aftermarket bar risers solves most of that buzz complaint for less than $100. But what if that same reliable parallel twin platform showed up again later on this list, wearing a completely different, far more polished outfit? Hold that thought. Coming through at number 18 is the MASH 500. Imported mainly from 2015 through 2023, the MASH 500 looks like a 1950s British single that wandered into the wrong decade and simply decided to stay. Underneath, though, sits a 400 cubic centimeters single-cylinder thump. Despite the 500 name, it is really a 397 cubic centimeters air-cooled engine. It is charmingly old-fashioned, right down to the round headlight and the spoked wheels. Seat height is 30.7 inches. Wet weight is a light 333 pounds, and you can find one used for $2,000 to $3,500. Because everything on this bike is exposed and mechanically simple, checking your oil, your tires, and your chain does not require bending over a fairing or unbolting plastic panels first. You just look and you are done. For anyone whose knees are not thrilled about crouching next to a bike for 20 minutes with a flashlight, that simplicity is worth its weight in gold. The single-cylinder engine also produces a lazy, unhurried thump that never asks you to rev it hard, which suits a rider who wants a relaxed cruise around the neighborhood far more than a rider chasing lap times. The honest limitation is rust resistance. Build quality is not spectacular, so this bike wants a dry garage, a soft cloth, and a little extra love on rainy weeks, plus a light coat of protectant on the chrome every so often. Cruising in. At number 17 is the Indian FTR 1200. Built from 2019 through 2025, the FTR 1200 took flat-track racing DNA, sanded off the rough edges, and turned it into a genuinely comfortable road bike that nobody expected. Seat height on the later models with the 17-inch wheels is 30.7 inches. Wet weight is 514 pounds, and used examples run from $6,900 to $10,800. The tapered handlebars are wide and high, which hands you an enormous amount of mechanical leverage. Turning this bike at low speed takes almost no shoulder or arm effort in at all, which matters a lot once you have parked and repositioned it a few dozen times over a single Sunday ride. The 1,203 cubic centimeters V-twin also makes its peak torque low in the rev range, so you are never forced to wind the engine out just to keep pace with traffic, which keeps the whole experience calmer than the racy styling suggests. The honest limitation is the fuel tank, which holds only 3.4 gallons. You will be making friends with gas station clerks far more often than you would like on a longer trip, whether you want to or not. So a soft saddlebag with a spare bottle of fuel is not a bad idea. Pulling up at number 16 is the Triumph Speed Twin 900. Sold from 2016 through today under a couple of different names along the way, the Speed Twin 900 is the modern classic that actually rides as good as it looks parked outside a diner. Seat height is a remarkably low, 30.1 inches. Wet weight is 476 pounds, and used prices sit between $4,800 and $8,800. That low seat height means shorter riders can plant both feet completely flat on the pavement at a stop. No tiptoeing, no wobble, just total, stable confidence the instant you come to a halt, which is worth more than any horsepower figure when you are navigating a crowded parking lot. The parallel twin also runs a 270-degree firing order, which gives it a Torquey V-twin-like character without the extra width of an actual V-twin between your knees. The honest limitation is that same low seat creates a tight knee bend for anyone over 5'10". Taller riders may find their knees creeping up toward the tank on longer highway stretches, though an aftermarket seat can add back an inch or so if that becomes a real problem. Idling in at number 15 is the Honda CB650R. Produced from 2019 through today, the CB650R takes Honda's 4-cylinder smoothness and wraps it in a genuinely upright, fairing-free package that nobody seems to be talking about. Seat height is 31.9 inches. Wet weight is 445 pounds, and used prices run from $5,500 to $8,500. The inline 4 spins with almost zero vibration through the bars, which means no numb fingers and no carpal tunnel flare-ups after a long ride. Your hands stay exactly as functional at the end of the ride as they were at the very start, which is a bigger deal than it sounds once you have ridden a Buzzy Twin all afternoon and felt the difference firsthand. Honda also carried over the braking hardware from its Supersport lineup. So despite the relaxed seating position, stopping power never feels like an afterthought bolted onto a commuter bike. The honest limitation is that the seat foam is on the firmer side straight from the factory, and most owners end up adding a gel pad for anything past 2 hours, which is a cheap fix for an otherwise excellent machine. Easing forward. At number 14 is the Honda CB1100. Sold in the United States from 2013 through 2017, the CB1100 is the closest thing Honda ever built to a museum piece you can actually ride to the museum and then ride home again. Seat height is 31.3 inches, wet weight is 540 pounds, and used prices land between $5,500 and $8,500. This heavy inline four is famous for being silky smooth, with almost no buzz transmitted through the grips at any RPM. That smoothness directly protects your hands and wrists from the numbness that ruins long rides on lesser, buzzier bikes mile after uneventful mile. Honda deliberately detuned this engine well below what the block can handle, which is part of why owners routinely report engines still running strong well past 60,000 miles, with nothing more than oil changes and valve checks. The honest limitation is the weight itself. At 540 pounds, moving this bike around a tight garage or a sloped driveway takes real deliberate effort and a little bit of planning. So a flat and a level parking spot is worth seeking out. Rolling on at number 13 is the Yamaha FZ07, also called MT-07. Built from 2015 all the way through today, the FZ07, known in other markets as the MT-07, might be the most universally recommended standard on the entire planet, and for very good reason. Seat height is 31.7 inches, wet weight is 406 pounds, and used prices range from $3,900 to $7,200. The handlebars sit close to your torso, which means you never have to stretch your arms or crane your neck forward just to reach them. Your posture stays neutral, your shoulders stay relaxed, and your neck genuinely thanks you at the end of a long riding day. The lightweight crossplane style parallel twin is also famously easy to modulate at low speed, which means less white knuckle clutch work in stop and go traffic than almost anything else on this entire list. The honest limitation is the stock front suspension, which is soft and dives noticeably under hard braking. Nothing a set of cartridge emulators cannot fix, but stock, it is admittedly a bit mushy under a heavy hand on the brake lever. Coasting in at number 12 is the Suzuki Bandit 600. Produced from 1995 through 2004, the Naked Bandit 600 is the bike your riding buddy's dad probably owned, and honestly, his dad had genuinely great, underappreciated taste. Seat height is 31.5 inches. Wet weight is 460 pounds, and used prices sit between $1,800 and $3,200. The seat is a massive, thickly padded bench that spreads your weight evenly across your glutes, instead of concentrating it on one sore, angry spot. That is the difference between a 2-hour ride that ends comfortably and one that ends with you standing on the pegs, silently begging for relief. Parts for this bike are also everywhere, since Suzuki sold enormous numbers of them worldwide, so a dented tank or a cracked mirror never turns into a months-long parts hunt. The honest limitation is the old-school carburetors with a manual choke lever, which require a firm hand pull and a little patience if the bike has been sitting in a garage for a few weeks without a ride. Joining the queue. At number 11 is the CF Moto 700 CLX. Sold from 2021 through today, the CF Moto 700 CLX proves that a genuinely comfortable standard does not need a famous badge on the tank to get the ergonomics exactly right. Seat height is 31.5 inches. Wet weight is 432 pounds, and used prices land between $3,800 and $5,400. It comes with standard electronic cruise control, which lets your right hand and wrist go completely limp on long, flat stretches of highway. That is one less joint working overtime for hours at a stretch, and it is a feature you rarely see at this price point at all. It also ships with ride-by-wire throttle and multiple power modes. So on days when your grip strength or reflexes are not at their sharpest, you can dial the response down to something gentler with the push of a single button. The honest limitation is short rear suspension travel, which transfers sharp highway bumps straight up into your spine rather than soaking them away politely, so smoother roads suit it best. If cruise control on a budget bike sounds like a small miracle to you, hit that like button right now, because it tells the algorithm to show this exact list to more riders who need this information. And honestly, they deserve to know these 9 remaining bikes exist too. Pulling ahead, at number 10 is the Husqvarna 𝐷𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐑 401 is sold from 2024 through today with a corrected upright handlebar setup. The 𝐷𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐑 401 looks like modern art that somehow also happens to run on gasoline. Seat height is 32.3 inches. Wet weight is a featherweight, 351 pounds, and used prices range from $4,000 to $5,500. At 351 pounds, holding this bike upright at a stop takes almost no core engagement whatsoever. Your abdomen and lower back simply do not have to fight gravity the way they would on a heavier machine, stoplight after stoplight all day long. The single-cylinder engine is also remarkably fuel efficient, often stretching a small tank well past 180 miles, which means fewer stops, fewer dismounts, and fewer chances for a tired leg to catch you off guard. The honest limitation is the seat, which is famously firm, closer to a wooden plank than an actual cushion. Budget for an aftermarket pad if you plan on riding much past lunchtime, since the factory foam clearly prioritized looks over comfort. Settling in at number 9 is the BMW R12. Sold from 2024 through today, the base R12 Roadster strips away all the touring bodywork and gives you the boxer engine in its purest, most honest form. Seat height is an ultra-low 29.7 inches, wet weight is 500 pounds, and used prices sit between $9,800 and $13,500. The low seat, combined with the boxer engine's naturally low center of gravity, makes this bike feel dramatically lighter than its actual weight the moment you go to lift it off the side stand. It is a genuine engineering trick, and it works every single time you swing a leg over. Shaft drive also comes standard, so there is no chain to clean, adjust, or lubricate on your knees in the driveway every few hundred miles. The honest limitation is that the cylinder heads stick out on either side of the engine and can bump your shins when walking the bike backward or forward while straddling it. So a little extra care in tight spaces goes a long way. Riding up at number 8 is the Honda SCL 500. Sold from 2023 through today, the SCL 500 takes Honda's proven parallel twin and dresses it up in Scrambler clothing, minus any of the actual dirt or drama. Seat height is 31.1 inches. Wet weight is 423 pounds, and used prices land between $4,500 and $6,200. High, wide scrambler bars keep your elbows bent and relaxed, which opens up your chest and prevents the neck and shoulder stiffness that creeps in on bikes with narrow, low bars over a long afternoon. The clutch pull is also famously light thanks to an assist and slipper design. So repeated stop and go, shifting through town never turns into a forearm workout you did not sign up for. The honest limitation is the high-mounted exhaust shield on the right side, which forces your right leg to flare outward when you are stopped, rather than tucking in neatly like you would prefer. A minor quirk that most owners simply stop noticing after the first few rides. Falling into line. At number 7 is the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. Sold from 2023 through today, the Hunter 350 is proof that simple, honest engineering never really went out of style, no matter how many screens other bikes bolt onto the dash. Seat height is 31.1 inches. Wet weight is 399 pounds, and used prices sit between $2,900 and $3,800. The frame and engine are narrow between your knees, which keeps your legs hanging straight down instead of splayed outward around a wide block. That eliminates the hip flexor strain that wider frame bikes are famous for causing over a long, meandering ride through unfamiliar back roads. The single cylinder also idles at a leisurely pace with a satisfying, unhurried thump, which somehow makes even sitting still at a red light feel relaxed rather than tense. The honest limitation is power. With only 20 horsepower on tap, highway merging requires genuine planning ahead. So this one lives happiest on back roads and city streets rather than interstates, where its relaxed manners actually shine the brightest. Moving up at number 6 is the Benelli Leoncino 500. Sold from 2018 through 2024, the Leoncino, which literally translates to Little Lion, punches well above its price tag in the looks department, and everyone at the gas station will ask about it. Seat height is 30.9 inches, wet weight is 456 pounds, and used prices range from $3,000 to $4,800. The seat is deeply scooped right where your lower back wants support, which quietly stops you from slouching forward mile after mile without you ever consciously noticing it is even happening. The parallel twin engine also produces a smooth, linear power delivery with none of the sudden hits some rivals throw at you mid-corner, which keeps the whole ride predictable from the first mile to the last. The honest limitation is the front brake lever, which needs a genuinely firm squeeze to bite hard. Riders with arthritic hands may find themselves fatigued after repeated hard stops in stop-and-go traffic, though an aftermarket lever with adjustable reach helps considerably. Closing in at number 5 is the Yamaha XSR 900. Sold from 2016 through today, the XSR 900 blends retro styling with a genuinely modern Torquey triple engine hiding underneath all that vintage bodywork. Seat height is 31.9 inches, wet weight is 425 pounds, and used prices land between $5,200 and $8,900. There is generous room between the seat and the foot pegs, which leaves your knees at a relaxed, obtuse angle rather than jammed into a tight, cramped fold. That single detail is the difference between comfortable and cranky once you pass the 30-minute mark of any ride. The triple engine also delivers its torque in one smooth, continuous pull rather than a sudden surge, which means fewer startling jolts through your wrists when you crack the throttle open from a stop. The honest limitation is throttle response, which is tuned aggressively and can genuinely startle a rider whose reflexes or wrist control are not moving at full speed that particular day. Switching the ride mode down to rain setting smooths this out considerably around town. Rounding the bend at number 4 is the Kawasaki Z900 RS. Sold from 2018 through today, the Z900 RS is basically a 1970s Kawasaki Superbike reborn, with modern brakes and none of the old vibration left behind. Seat height is 32.8 inches. Wet weight is 474 pounds, and used prices sit between $6,800 and $10,500. The foot pegs sit directly below your hips, which means you can rise up slightly off the seat to absorb a bump instead of letting that jolt travel straight up your lower back uninvited. It is a small movement that quietly saves your spine again and again over a long ride. The retro round headlight and analog style gauges also mean less glare and less squinting at a busy digital dash in bright afternoon sun, which is a small comfort that adds up over a long day of riding. The honest limitation is that 32.8-inch seat height. Shorter riders will genuinely struggle to get both feet flat at a stop without a little scoot forward first, and a lowering link is a common, affordable fix. At number 3 is the Suzuki SV650. Sold continuously from 1999 through today in various forms, the SV650 might be the single most recommended beginner and lifelong standard on the entire planet, and it earns every bit of that reputation the hard way. Seat height is 31.1 inches, wet weight is 440 pounds, and used prices land between $3,500 and $6,500. The V-twin engine produces a broad, forgiving spread of torque that lets you short shift and relax in traffic instead of constantly working the gearbox just to stay in the power band. Less shifting means less hand and wrist fatigue by the end of your ride. Plain and simple. The narrow V-twin layout also means the seat tapers nicely toward the front, giving shorter riders an easier reach to the ground than the seat height number alone would suggest on paper. The honest limitation is that the stock suspension on early models is genuinely soft, and hard cornering will have you wishing for stiffer springs sooner rather than later, though this rarely matters much on a relaxed weekend ride. If a bike this forgiving and this cheap genuinely surprised you, drop a comment below, telling us which number on this list you would actually go test ride first. We read every single one, and it genuinely helps us know exactly what to cover next. Almost home. At number 2 is the Honda Monkey. Sold from 2019 through today, the Honda Monkey looks like a toy and rides like a tiny, giggling stress reliever on 2 wheels, and somehow both of those things are equally true. Seat height is 30.5 inches. Wet weight is a featherweight, 231 pounds, and used prices range from $2,800 to $4,200. At just 231 pounds, balancing this bike at a stoplight takes almost zero physical strength or core stability. Your hips and lower back simply are not asked to do any real work holding it upright, which is a genuinely rare feeling on 2 wheels. The tiny engine also sips fuel at an almost comical rate, which means the bike is cheap to run and forgiving to learn on, without ever punishing a slow, careful throttle hand. The honest limitation is the tiny 12-inch wheels, which drop hard into potholes and send sharp, undamped jolts straight up into your spine. Smooth pavement only, please, and choose your route accordingly, since this is a bike built for tidy streets rather than rough, cracked back roads. Leading the pack, at number 1 is the Triumph Bonneville T100. Sold from 2017 through today in its liquid-cooled generation, the Bonneville T100 is, without much argument from anyone who has actually ridden one, the blueprint every other bike on this list is quietly chasing. Seat height is 31.1 inches. Wet weight is 503 pounds. And used prices sit between $5,500 and $9,200. The wide pulled-back handlebars line up perfectly with a completely flat bench seat, which lets you sit bolt upright without ever bending your lower back or resting weight on your wrists. It is, quite simply, the most naturally correct riding position on this entire list, and it is not particularly close. The parallel twin also runs the same 270-degree firing order found further up this list, tuned here for an even friendlier, more relaxed delivery. So the character comes with none of the drama. The honest limitation is the weight. 503 pounds is surprisingly heavy for a bike this size, and pushing it backward out of an angled parking space takes real focused effort every time, so reverse parking whenever possible saves you the hassle. 20 standards, 0 fairings, 0 excuses. Every single one of these bikes puts your weight through your spine instead of your wrists, and that is the whole secret nobody at the dealership ever bothers explaining to you. From a 231-pound monkey all the way up to a 540-pound CB 1100, the geometry stays honest at every single price point on this list. If you learned which bikes with upright bars, a flat seat, and a fairing-free frame save your back and wrists, click the next video on your screen right now to continue riding with us. Don't forget to like this video and make sure you join our tribe by clicking that subscribe button.